This is my 15.4 rehabilitation programme. So the first athlete I've got is a footballer who's a defender who plays professional level, who's got the injury of a ruptured Achilles. This occurred when they went in for a tackle and they lunged too far, causing the Achilles to stretch and completely rupture. So on the screen you can see an overview of the time frame of how long the recovery time will be. It's an estimated 6 months for the overall recovery, but here you can see an outline of what the different stages will involve. So there's 3 stages of healing: inflammation, repair and remodelling, which you can see in the chart. Remodelling is the longest phase, can take quite a long time after a person thinks they've recovered. The repair phase, and then the inflammation, which is straight away. So here's the treatment plan overview. There's a variety of different treatments. So deep tissue and soft tissue will be used around the muscles such as the calves and the quads and the hamstrings, as opposed to actually on the Achilles itself. Cryotherapy and thermotherapy, these are 2 forms of regulating temperature. So thermotherapy is the use of heat and cryotherapy is use of ice. Cryotherapy is typically used to reduce swelling, whereas thermotherapy is used to increase the blood flow to an area. Taping will be used around the actual injury itself to offer some stability to the joint, and it's often quite good for psychological use because it makes someone feel more secure, so they'll be more willing to put weight and do more exercise on the injury. Acupuncture again will be used on the muscles around the injured area, and electrotherapy will be used for the muscles more so at the start when when they're not actually being actively used. The electrotherapy can be used to stimulate the muscles to prevent atrophy from occurring. So as you can see, these numbers represent how vital I think they'd be within the recovery process. So starting this end, this is the start of the recovery process, and going to the end, 9 is the most vital and 1 or 0 is the least vital. So here you can see how they will increase and decrease as the recovery process goes. So for the inflammation phase, during this phase of recovery, the main 2 treatments used were cryotherapy and thermotherapy, which would be used for an hour a day in order to stimulate blood to that area to promote healing, as well as reduce swelling in the area. Because it's a tendon, it's quite hard to get blood flow there typically, so you need to encourage it as much as possible. Throughout all phases, taping is going to be used, including the inflammation phase, in order to provide some form of compression and to strengthen the area. The compression will also prevent swelling from occurring. And electrotherapy will be used 3 times a week in order to stimulate the muscles and not being used. During the repair phase, cryotherapy and thermotherapy will again still be used every day for an hour. However, the use of soft tissue and deep tissue will also be used more now, treating the calves and hamstring muscles, as I mentioned earlier. The use of taping will be more prominent as there's more movement and mobility within this stage. So it's important to provide extra stability to the tendon, and acupuncture will be used more within this stage, around 3 times a week, to target the calf and hamstring muscles, because they will be compensating quite a lot for the lack of stability within the tendon. They're going to be compensating for like the odd weight distributions and stuff throughout the body. Then during the remodel stage, taping will be used even more as a workload being placed on the injury will also increase. So there's added support needed, which again also ties into the psychological side of it. Cryotherapy and thermotherapy will again still be used at this point to prevent swelling that would occur due to the increased workload being placed on it, and again increasing the blood flow to the area to promote the healing still. Acupuncture will be used around 3 to 4 times a week to prevent the calf and hamstring muscles from cramping up due to the increased workload they're being placed under, because they've gone through such a long period of not being used. Making them do so much in a short period of time might make them start to cramp up, and they might be more at risk of injury. And then soft tissue massage will also be used 3 times a week on the hamstring and calf muscles to limit tightness that might develop through training. So some short-term goals. The first one would be to research the injury and any possible methods of treatment, because having a wider breadth of knowledge on the issue can help someone to find the best possible treatments and possibly prevent it in the future. Perform the given static stretches 2 times a day for 2 weeks. Quite an attainable goal. Another one is to start a diary that is written in once a day for reflection and thought process on the current state of injury. That can be used as a way for someone to document their journey through the injury, and it's good to can be quite cathartic for them, as it can be quite an emotional and stressful period of time for an athlete who's used to competing at a professional level and training every day to not being able to do anything. And then also to meet up with the teammates once a week in a social environment, and that's to prevent the isolation that they might get, because if they've gone from training 5 times a week to not training at all, they're going to feel very isolated from their friends and feel like they're not part of the team, even though they might still be. Medium-term goals: to attend 2 training sessions a week with a team, whereby their rehabilitation exercises are performed during the time that the team takes part in their regular training. This enables them to carry on feeling part of the group, part of the team, and to also work on their own rehabilitation and not feel left out. And then to begin to incorporate balance exercises into the rehab exercises, so using a balance board to strengthen the tendon and to help the calf muscle to rebuild strength. And then the ultimate long-term goal is to play 1 full game of non-competitive football at an 85% work rate. So that's just like the last stepping stone to getting them to where they're meant to be. So we've got some functional movement exercises that would be good for the ruptured Achilles. So the main exercise here we've got is someone just sitting down and stretching out their hamstring and the Achilles tendon at the bottom there, so just touching their toes. In order to regress this, you've got just sitting out with your legs out straight and reaching about as far as your knees. And then to regress that even further is just sitting with your legs completely stretched out, so no bent knees or completely flat along the floor. And then in order to progress this, you incorporate the resistance band. So this uses plantar flexion. So that would be just pulling against it on the resistance band there, with the leg flat against the ground again. And then to progress that even more is lifting the leg off the floor, because there's less support underneath the tendon, so you need to kind of provide more stability yourself using your muscles. So this will be done 5 reps, holding them for 10 seconds, and then doing that twice, but then twice a day again, with a rest period of 30 seconds between. And then we've got some foam rolling, which is like soft massage. So the main exercise here is having your bum up off the floor and rolling the whole calf, but with just one leg, so just the pressure of one leg on it. To regress this, you've got putting the person's bum on the floor and then bending that leg up, so there's a lot less pressure on the tendon and the calf muscle, so you can kind of adjust that as you feel the need to. To progress that further, you've got lifting your bum off the floor and putting 2 legs on top of the foam roller, because that adds additional pressure onto it. And then here you've got just lifting yourself higher up off the floor, so you've got a higher angle, so there's even more pressure being put onto the calf muscle. So this will be done for 10 minutes and done twice a day, like maybe in the morning and the evening. Then we've got some other stretches down here. So this one, it's kind of based again on like the plantar flexion, so pushing those toes upwards against the ball, so placing more resistance as you feel necessary with this foot here. And then we've got rolling the actual tendon itself on the foam roller, but with a lot less pressure, because you don't want to try and strain it too much. And then to progress that further, using a smaller massage ball, because there's like a smaller point of contact, and so that increases the amount of pressure and the force going through it. So that'll be done for 5 minutes again twice a day, such as like the morning and the evening again. Phase 3, you've got strengthening exercises. So here the main exercise is performing calf raises on a bench, and then to regress that, you've got having support from an external person here whilst performing the calf raises. And then to regress that further, it's just doing normal calf raises on the floor. And then to progress this, we've got going onto one leg, so this would be the injured leg, and so all the force is going through that one. And then to progress that even further, doing 2 legs with the added weight, so that would be 10 reps and 3 sets of that with a 60-second rest between. The next exercise we've got incorporates the balance board. So first of all, it's just standing on the balance board, which would be for 5 minutes. To regress that, you'd be standing on the balance board with the support of another person holding you for 5 minutes. And then to regress this further, it's just doing plain squats on the floor. Then in order to progress this exercise, you'll be doing squats whilst on the balance board, and to progress it further, it's squats with the weights. So this would be 5 reps or 2 sets for 90 seconds resting, because there's quite a lot of force to be put in onto the tendon, and yeah, it can be quite strenuous, so it needs a longer period of rest. Then we've got the sport-specific training. So for this first one, got a single leg hop with a 2-footed landing, and then to regress this, you've got a squat jump, so 2 feet starting, 2 feet ending. To progress this, it's got alternating feet, so kind of more of like a skip, because obviously that's going to put more force through the injured tendon as you make the explosive jump off the floor and then with the landing again. And then to progress this even further, it would be just performing straight hops continuously on the injured leg. So this would be 10 reps, 3 sets with a 30-second rest in between. And then another one more related to football would be ladder exercises. So the main exercise here is quick feet, 2 feet in each rung of the ladder as you go. It's quite a quick motion. Then to regress this, it'd be 1 foot in each ring, as you can see in the diagram. And then to regress this even further, it's 2 feet, like bunny hops in between, because the distribution of the weight is being shared between 2 legs as opposed to 1, which was in this one here. And then to progress it further, we've got hops throughout the ladder, so that'd be on the injured leg. And then to progress this even further, would be hopping over hurdles, because it needs more explosion in their jump to get higher to make it over the hurdles. So you'd be doing these, you go once through the ladder 5 times with 15-second rest in between. The second athlete we've got is a cricketer, a bowler who is suffering with a dislocated shoulder with an estimated recovery time of 4 to 6 months. So they got this injury bowling against a player and over-rotating, and ending up with a dislocated shoulder. So again, there's a breakdown of the times they'll have for the different stages of healing and for how long they'll spend doing whichever types of exercises. Again, the different methods of treatment down below, so soft tissue for the surrounding muscles. Cupping is used to increase the blood flow, taping again for stability and support, and cryotherapy and thermotherapy again for reducing swelling and inflammation and increasing the blood flow. So for the inflammation phase, during this phase, the only treatments that are going to be used are cryotherapy and thermotherapy. They'll be used every day for an hour, alternating 20 minutes of cryotherapy and thermotherapy. During the repair stage, the main treatment, again, is going to be cryotherapy and thermotherapy, again, used for an hour every day, alternating 20-minute cycles. And the second part of the stage will be a mixture of soft tissue massage along with the cryotherapy and thermotherapy. And then whilst the athletes actually doing the exercises, their shoulders should be taped for added support, and it gives them a reassurance of mind again. The remodelling stage, first part, the main treatments are going to be used taping, especially once they incorporate weights to their sport-specific drills, as well as the cupping to increase the blood flow to that area. Towards the end of the stage, you'll start using less tape and lots of cupping, cryotherapy and thermotherapy to help aid recovery after the exercise sessions. So short-term goals, to do the exercises given using the easiest resistance band, because obviously as they get better they can use the harder resistance bands to give themselves more of a challenge. Second one, practice the light exercises given at least twice a day for 20 minutes for a week. Then to add in equipment into the light exercises to make it slightly harder, twice a day for 20 minutes. Start by doing easy bodyweight exercises 4 times a week. Meet up with teammates or friends at least once a week for 30 minutes a minimum. This is to increase the social aspect that they might have lost through their injury. To do mindfulness every day for 2 weeks for 10 minutes a day. And to research different treatments to see which is most useful for them. Medium-term goals, so 5 times a week do some isometric or static exercises with the use of resistance bands, slowly build up more strength. And if that's too easy, start to use wrist weights as well alongside that. Also to go along to at least 2 training sessions a week to see the coach and teammates, and then whilst they're training, go into the gym and do their own rehabilitation exercises. And then long-term goals, to be able to take part in full non-competitive game of cricket, doing both the fielding and bowling at 90% effort. So the exercises that would be used in this, so the main exercise here is using a cricket ball against the shoulder, putting the body weight against the wall and just rolling it into the shoulder blades. To progress this, you'd use a tennis ball, as that's got a slight more give to it and be less painful, less force going through it. And then to progress this even further, be using even more of like a foamy type ball. That's also a lot smoother. You can put less pressure on it too, as this woman's doing in the picture. And then to progress this, you can move your feet outwards like Lottie's done in the image, and that will increase the amount of pressure being placed onto the ball. It means its able to get a bit deeper. And then to progress this even more would be to use a massage ball, because it's got the spikes on it, it's able to get deeper into the tissues, so it's have more effect. So that will be done for 10 minutes twice a day, like the morning and evening again. The next exercise is based on just raising the arms to increase the range of movement. So you're kind of getting the arms up to about eye level. Then to progress this further, just bringing them up again so they're parallel to the ground. And then to progress this even further would be to have the assistance of someone else helping you to get the mobility going in your arm and moving it up and down. To progress this even further, getting your arms as high up above your head, trying to keep the elbows as straight as possible. And then to progress this even further would be to use a resistance band like this woman here and bring the arms straight outwards. So that would be 10 reps, 3 sets with 60-second rest in between. During the strengthening exercises, for this exercise here, the main exercise is to be performing press-ups with the legs elevated. And then to regress this, doing a normal press-up. And then to regress this even further would be to have someone's knees on the ground while they're going down doing the press-ups. And then to progress this exercise would be to do it on a wobble board. And then to progress it even further would be to do it with the legs elevated on a gym ball, because this decreases their stability, so their arms are going to have to put in a lot more strength to focus and to keep the body in an upright position and stop them from falling over. So that would be doing 5 reps of 3 sets with a 60-second rest, because that is quite strenuous. Most able-bodied people might struggle with that at times, so you don't want to put that under too much stress. They might cause another injury before they've fully recovered themselves. So this next exercise is just raising an unweighted bar above the head, trying to keep the elbows as straight as possible. To regress this further would be to lift the bar up with the arms out straight, but only going about halfway, so keeping the arms parallel with the floor again as they were earlier on. And then to regress this further would be to do it without a bar at all, so just making sure you've got that range of mobility, and the repeated motion of it again, even without a bar, is still going to increase the strength. To progress this would be to do it with a weighted bar, but first just bring the arms up against the parallel to the ground and bring them back down again. And then to progress it even further would be to get it all the way up above your head with the arms straight, the elbow straight. So that would be 5 reps, 3 sets, 60 to 90 seconds rest between them, as it is again quite strenuous, especially if you're doing these further progressions with the weighted bars. And then for the sport-specific training, so the first exercise here is throwing the ball with 2 hands, just like a normal weighted ball, 2 hands standing on a wobble board. So that's just throwing the ball upwards. And then to regress this, got throwing one-handed but a lighter ball whilst still on the wobble board. And then to regress it even further would be to throw a light ball using 2 hands whilst on the wobble board. Then to progress this, it would be using a weighted ball. So first of all throwing with 2 hands whilst on the wobble board, and then to progress even further, it's a one-handed throw. So when you're using the one-handed throws, you want to focus that on the injured arm, because there's no point doing it with the normal one, because that's not going to have any effect. So that would be 10 reps for 4 sets with 30-second rest in between. Then moving on is more or less the same series of exercises. However, you'll be throwing the ball towards the ground, because this means that there's more force generated and being put through the arm. So the muscles working around the shoulder have got to put in more effort. So first of all, 2 hands throwing the ball at the ground. Then it'd be 1 hand throwing the ball at the ground, which would be a lighter ball at this point, and then 2 hands with a lighter ball throwing it at the ground. To progress this one further, it'd be using a weighted ball, throwing it with 2 hands at the ground, and then a weighted ball throwing it one-handed at the ground. And then if this was really easy, again, you could incorporate the wobble board that was used earlier for all of the exercises, if that's easier, if they're finding the exercises too easy. So this would be 10 reps of 4 sets with 30-second rest in between. And then the end exercise would be, the original exercise, So it'd be a proper cricket throw, like a bowl, with 70% of the effort in the nets using a practice cricket ball. And then to regress this, it'd be the same thing, but using a tennis ball. And then to regress this even further, it's about 60% effort while still using the tennis ball. Then to progress this, you'd be using an actual cricket ball with around 85% effort, and then to progress it further, it'd be about 90% effort using a proper cricket ball. Obviously, with all the exercises mentioned, if the athletes start to experience any pain that starts to feel unmanageable, they should stop straight away, because they could run the risk of causing even more harm to their injury, and then that's going to increase their recovery time even further. So if something starts to hurt, they should stop what they're doing, give it a couple of days rest until they start to feel comfortable again, and then they can start off again. And again, they should make sure they're feeling completely comfortable with the exercise before they move on to the next one, before they move on to the progressions. But similarly, they shouldn't spend too long on the same one and just not move forward because they're scared, because otherwise they'll never progress further and the injury will never kind of heal back to its original state.